Um, can I have some OEM Coyote exhaust gaskets? It's definitely been a minute, but time to go ahead and finally address some things to kind of finish tweaking the Mustang to make it race ready for us to find that opportune event to jump onto and go racing to have fun and enjoy. So right now there are two glaring issues that I need to address. One, which is super obvious, is I have an exhaust leak. Now, for no particular reason at all, while I was at the dealership picking up a few parts to fix the my truck, and I was like, hey, you know what? Can I have some OEM Coyote exhaust gaskets? Sure enough, got them, and they're not too bad. So I think it was $60 from the pair, or $60 for the pair, from the parts counter. Good quality OEM gaskets. So that is, issue number one. Issue number two. I have the slightest vibration in the drive line still, but slightly, and at high speed. So it's not noticeable unless you are on an off-road course like a racetrack completely. Anyways, it kind of hits you at like 110, 120. It kind of is noticeable, and it's on throttle. So what that kind of tells me is the adjustment helped, because it's not happening at 80 miles an hour anymore. It's happening at like over 100 miles an hour. So we just need to go a little bit more. We just need a little bit more angle, because obviously when we're on throttle, when the engine is torquing the drive line, the rear diff still has a little bit of, perhaps a little bit of enough rotation to have that kind of imbalance of the parallels of the transmission flange to the to the rear end pinion. So in fact, I even saw a guy on another YouTube channel use this angle finder. I did use my phone. In fact, I'm going to use my phone still as like double check or like a triple check kind of deal, because I'm going to use this guy. I'm going to use my phone. I'm going to record them separately, and I'm going to allow that to confidently tell me if I made any type of adjustment and if the two are kind of in relation. So last time we did this check, obviously the iPhone only gave you rounded to the whole degree. This one is going to be a little bit more accurate, where it kind of goes to, I think, to the 10th of a degree. So this might help us with getting closer, more precise. And yeah, so now time to get wrenching. I think we're going to address the driveline angle first, because I think that's going to be the easiest, actually. And the way it's going to be the easiest is I can show you when I get underneath the car. The transmission mount is actually shimmed to mount the transmission a little higher. And basically all I got to do is just kind of knock out some of those shims, and it's going to sit that transmission down. Thus, it's going to tilt that angle a little bit further down, and it's going to give us the appropriate angle that we're kind of looking for. And ideally, I have it equal, I believe. I think the transmission actually has a slightly more downhill angle, but slightly. But for the most part, they're very close to being equal to each other. So we're going to give it about like a whole degree to like 1.5 degree difference in angle, so that whenever it is on throttle, then they become equal, harmoniously spinning, and we don't have the driveline vibration. So that's the game plan for today. And then after that's taken care of, I don't know if this is all going to fit in one video, but we're going to then swap the exhaust manifold gasket. Now, I have a good buddy of mine, second shift racing. He keeps telling me, you're doing this all wrong. We've done this with turbo cars. We've done this with nitrous cars. We've done this with all motor cars. We've done this with blower cars. You just need the orange RTV exhaust gasket sealer stuff, and you bolt the headers right to the heads of the engine. It'll seal it. It'll be fine. And you got no worries as long as you smear it on RTV in the right spot and right correctly, and you will have not one problem. Well, if this doesn't work, yes, I will try it, because this will be replacing the gasket I thought was leaking. This is going to be the third set of gaskets I've put on these headers to try and seal them up, and I'm going to pull them off. I'm definitely going to check to make sure it's not like egregiously like uneven, or that they do in fact will seal up, because we do need these guys to seal up, because it's an atrocious sound when you're cruising at like 2,000 RPM. And I had it ever since we did the 337 speed video back in January, and I'm actually surprised that it didn't get picked up much in audio, but I guess the car is just that loud that it can kind of hide it perhaps, or we did good keeping it above or below that 2,000 mark. So furthermore ado, no more talking, let's kind of get to wrenching. The car, for both things to be addressed, I got to pick it up. So I'm going to open the door, roll it back a little bit. We're going to roll it on the ramps, and then we're going to jack the rear end up on jack stands so that we can get to everything. So, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I'm about to lift the car up and there's a potential that I'm going to remove enough parts and I'm not going to finish a job, it's important to probably think about the positioning of your car. So as you saw, I did kind of move it over a little bit, but that's really to give me more room, on the side where my welding station, my shelves of spare parts and stuff. But basically, think about it, because one, we want to have room in the front, but I also kind of want to be close enough to where the garage door will close if the car is, say, lifted up off the ground. So I'm gonna double check that. But yeah, helpful tip for any of you guys who are in a garage similar to my setup, and you know how it is, right? It's questionable if we're really gonna finish all the things we said we were gonna finish. So keep that in mind with consideration of where the car is parked. So one, of course, we have plenty of space on this side. This side, I've got enough space to lay down on the car after I kind of clear off a bunch of some crap. I don't know why I still have that brake pedal assembly. That one's kind of ruined. I ruined it. Anyways, that's trash. I don't need that. But there's my ramps. So what I want to do is put the ramps kind of where these tires are going to sit. And that way, I'm going to give myself a little bit more room so that the car could probably rock a little bit more further forward. The go-kart's definitely losing these jack stands. We're probably going to put the frame of the go-kart on top of those guys. And I have this go-kart project. You guys really aren't really aware of it. This was kind of like a request from my TikTok audience. But yeah, I'm rebuilding the go-kart. It's waiting on tires. But anyways, I'm going to need these jack stands so we could lift up the rear. Car's in park, so it's not going to go anywhere. And then, yeah, and as you can see, that door's going to close, and it's going to close right behind that spoiler. But we're actually going to lift the rear end up, and we'll actually get more room out of that. No, because I don't have proper hood strut, we're going to use a piece of garden hose piping. Yeah. Hey. For those who say it's fake, yes, it is. Because if it was fake, I wouldn't be able to touch it, you know, like. So, I'll get under here and I'm going to show you guys how we plan to adjust. So, right there. There they are. So here are the shims that I was talking about. There's some stack of washers here, stack of washers here, and that is the shims. So, got to basically just unbolt these bottom ones. This is what bolts the transmission to the cross member. So we're going to get a jack it from this point right here and unbolt these, remove some washers, and let it settle back down for that angle we're hoping to get. All right, so here's where we're at. Okay, so I can get the edge of this guy right here. So I've just bumped the pinion to be completely flat, side to side. As you can see, we're at 0 degrees. Now, we know that this is flat. We can now grab that edge and we can tell that we are at 2.6. Can you guys see that? So yeah, so now you can see we're at 2.6 sloping toward the rear of the car. Good. Now we go to the front, and the most reliable ticket if the front. So that says 3.4. Three? Hold on. Stand by. Yeah, 3. 2.9. 2.9, 3. So that's a difference of a half a degree. All right, so we need to go probably a whole degree now. So if we're getting if we're getting 2.6 at the pinion and we're getting 2.930 at the front of the engine, we don't have very far to go. We just need just a little bit, just a tiny little bit. So I'm going to go unbolt that transmission cross member, remove some shims, and ideally I want it to land on the crank to be 3.6. That way we have a whole degree difference at a settled ride height, because the rear suspension is being supported by the axle. You know, the way the axle is actually on the jack stands, which jack stands on the rear axle. So I want that resting angle to be 1 degree difference. So then when we're under torque, what's happening is the rear suspension separates and it pushes down, which actually lifts the body up. And what that'll do is it's going to make that 2.6 get closer to that 3.6 when it's under torque. Unbolt. Nice. Okay. So there goes all the washers. Put hardware back onto the transmission mount. Bolt this guy back up. I'm gonna try and install these cross member mount or cross member bolts. While we get the transmission nice and loose. Alright, so we got that working. And that's still reading 0. Where we at? 27, 26, yep. Looks like we got 3. I said 3, 4, 3. All right, so here we are. We've just built the transmission back to the cross member. It's now being supporting its own weight, and time to tighten the cross member back up. So that we can call this task complete. Well, I think I've ran out of time. So whenever I can get back out to the garage, we're going to jump right onto removing the headers to swap these Ford OEM gaskets. And then also I need to make sure that I tighten them down in a proper torque sequence. That way it gives it its best chance and promotes nice flat seal of these guys onto the motor, and we don't have any type of leaky situation. So I'm gonna call it for now until we can get back out here to fix the header issue. And after we fix the header issue, we can confirm our adjustment was on point for that drive line. So thank you for watching. Go ahead and hit the like button. Give me a comment if you see something wrong, needs to adjust or changed, or tell me tell me you just like it anyways. But anyways, if you're new here, go ahead and think about subscribing, and I will see you guys later. And coming up after all this is put together, I'm going to bring the car out and start doing draggy runs. We're going to do quarter mile, we're going to do 60 130, and we're going to tune the brakes by doing the 60 to 0 timing. So stay tuned.